Can I tell y'all something real quickly? Everybody can't be a Summitite. You got to be made of some special stuff in order to be born and raised in Summit, USA. Look at your neighbor real quickly and say, you can't all be Summitites.
My name is D. Richardson, D for short.
I'm Wallace Owens, Jr.
Norma Jean Tucker.
I am Constance Beasley Edmond. No, I guess Constance Anthony Beasley Edmond.
My name is Wilbur G. Thomas.
Hi, my name is Geraldine Threeps.
My name is Hazel Owens Dozier.
I'm Charles Moore. I'm the senior pastor here at First Baptist Church Summit.
Town instead of Summit, Oklahoma, because to say Summit, Oklahoma is too small. Because we are reaching around the world. We are Summit, USA. Amen? Amen. We are Summit, USA.
It's called Summit because we have a mountain. It's called the Chimney Mountain over on the west side of Summit. And the teachers will always use that mountain to instill in us to do better.
My mother and her family had come from Yoakum, Texas by way of a wagon caravan, 6 wagons with different families. Then she met my dad. They got married here in Summit, right up near Chimney Mountain, and 9 children were born to my mother and dad.
So at that time, Oklahoma was the land of opportunity. It was God's country. You know, they could leave the South, they could get away from prejudice, they could get away, so they thought, from, and you know, have schools, a good place to raise families, land. And so this is how many people, many families came to Oklahoma.
My family, part of my family came from Arkansas. Part of my family came from Texas. My father's side came from Texas. It shows that these black communities were formed just to be free, to be independent in the sense that they wanted to determine their own future. They wanted to contribute to the fabric of the U.S., Oklahoma in particular, and the U.S. in general.
During that time, racial tensions were very high. There was competition between towns who wanted to be the next railroad stop. That railroad stop guaranteed economic opportunities for that community or town. Summit was in the front running, but just prior to making the final determination, late one night, someone poisoned the water and poured salt into the water, which then made the water unusable, and so Summit didn't make it as one of the stops.
Only you could talk about what you went through. Only you could talk about how you had to have struggle. But then guess what? After struggle comes hope.
There were many beautiful things about Summit, and let me say right here that I would not trade my country living for anything, because we learned a lot being country children. We learned from Mother Nature.
I can't imagine of anyone having a better childhood than I had. It was awesome.
Summit at one point in time had a post office, it had general stores. There were anywhere from 800 to maybe 1,200 homes in the area. It was a bustling town.
Well, I hope that they can rebuild, we can rebuild and get everything back to similarity of where it was. I know we can't get it to where it was, but for the children growing up and my great-grandchildren or whomever may want to come back and, you know, live in my house or whatever, and then they'll have these memories and stuff that we created. And
I think that there's a level of comfortableness. My husband said he'd always wanted to come back, what he calls home.
Well, I always told my family that I was going to win the lottery and rebuild Summit, and I was going to call it Our Town Rebuilt.
As this entire world's population increases, people are going to come out of those cities at some point. It won't be my generation, but it'll be other generations, and they're going to need a place to go. From the experience that we've had, we can translate that into better governance for the future.
If I have enough faith to believe that people will return here, not because they ain't got nowhere else to go, but because they desire to be in a place where they can come and feel at home, where they can grow and they can have a sense of community, where people know your name and they're always glad that you came, when people can come around and say that I'm glad, and they can walk around with a big S on their chest, not for Superman, but for Summer Night. And when people ask you where you're from, tell them I'm from Summit, USA. It's the place where I grew up. It's the place where I learned how to become all that I become. Watch this. Great people have come from this community.
What happens here on every Sunday and every Wednesday and every time we have a worship service, it gives people an opportunity to share. We have Summitites as far as the state of Washington who on a Sunday morning can be in Seattle, Washington and turn on their computer and be here in Summit, Oklahoma and still feel part of the church, which has been so important to us because we don't want anyone to lose grasp of their home. And so we use technology, television, internet, web streaming, so that we can enhance the worship experience. As much as it's had its struggle, it needs that story of Summit and all the all-black towns of Oklahoma. That story needs to be told because there are kids who live in those communities that need to take pride in those communities. There's people who moved away, but yet and still know their roots. But if we don't tell the story, then you won't find it in your history books. You won't find it in the classroom, and then it'll get lost.
Amen. Amen. Amen.